Hey, welcome to the news and why it matters. I'm Hillary Kennedy. I'm filling in for Sarah Gonzalez, and I have with me today Mr. Glenn Beck, Stu Bergier.
That's me.
And Jeffrey Fisher. All right, gentlemen, let's start with your stories. What do you have for us today, Glenn?
I think both Stu and I want to talk a little bit about the Mueller recap, and I describe it as Star Wars Episode 1.
That's not a good reference. That's not positive for the Mueller thing. I want to do the same thing, and because it really is amazing, the build-up and then the reaction immediately afterwards, no delay. I think it tells a pretty dramatic story.
It sure does. I'd like to talk about executions, though. The federal government has now decided that, and not Mueller, but the federal government has now decided to, they're going to execute their prisoners again. So, yeah.
Keeping it light with executions.
Let's light it up.
And we also want to thank our sponsors. So, Glenn, I know you want to tell us a little bit about Relief Factor.
Relief Factor is something that I have taken now for a year and a half. Think so?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was like that. It was around. I feel like it was around Christmas
time.
Yeah.
It was right before Christmas, and I was going on vacation, and I said to my wife, "I can't live this way anymore." And she said, "I know, I can't live this way anymore either, and I'm not going to listen to you complain anymore if you don't try everything." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Try Relief Factor." And I'm like, "Oh, honey, it's not going to work. It's, drug-free. Better living through pharmaceuticals." And she said, "Try it." Like, I don't take. I'll take Tylenol, Advil, please, Advil. Inflammation. Like it was like this invisible. I can't see my body swelling. I mean, I can see this, but that's not from. Advil's not going to take care of it.
Unfortunately.
I started taking for 3 weeks. I said I would do it for 3 weeks because that's what they say. I took it for 3 weeks. I'm still taking it today. It has dramatically changed my life. It's why I paint again. Get your life back. Relief Factor. Try it now. ReliefFactor.com.
That's awesome. All right, so we want to talk about Mueller.
Yeah. So let me. Do we have the audio or the video of the way they set up Mueller and his testimony? The media was so excited about this.
Sharks.
You're right. It was the same kind of hype of Episode 1 from Star Wars, where everybody is like, "This is going to be the greatest movie of all time. This is going to be. We've been waiting forever."
How is it? I was so excited.
I was so excited. I couldn't get even a seat. I sat in the front row with my daughter. It was her birthday when it came out. We were so excited, and she said, "Maybe, Dad, it was that we were sitting in the front row." And I'm like, "Nope, you can't get far enough away from the screen to make this thing work." But that's how they set it up. Let me show you how they set this up.
Could the outcome sway undecided House Democrats on impeachment?
What happens here today is likely to be a turning point in the fight over impeachment.
Do you think that it could change the dial on impeachment?
Is going to be very damning.
The recitation of that evidence could be incredibly damaging.
A key moment in the Trump presidency.
Testifying before Congress with the presidency at stake.
This is either going to be the world's biggest event, the Mueller movie, or a dud because there's nothing new.
That question, was the ball advanced?
No. Impeachment's over.
They needed more fuel for any kind of impeachment effort.
So look, on optics, this was a disaster.
A lot of Democrats in particular used the D word and branded this a disaster early on.
Okay, so now who didn't see this coming? Stu and I said the day that Mueller gave his farewell address, okay, he stood there and he said, "Don't call me."
Right.
That was the quote.
Yeah.
"Don't call me to testify. I have nothing new to say. If you ask me to testify, I will just confirm what's in the report. That's it."
Period.
Now, they expected him to maybe give a little bit more, but he had already said, "Don't do it because I won't." Now, here's a guy who's so honorable. He's just so credible. He would never lie. He'd never cheat. He'd never steal. If you cut his jacket open in the back, wings will pop out. So he's Mr. Credibility. He would never lie. Well, you're asking him to make himself a liar because he said, "I'm not going to say anything except, yep, that's what the report said.
Don't call
Don't call me." So 180 times this is what he said. Watch.
Leave it with the report. So I would have to refer you to the report on that. Direct you to the report for how that is characterized, and would direct you to the report itself.
Okay. Well, I looked at the 182 pages of it.
It's outside my purview. It's outside my purview. Outside my purview. It is still outside my purview. I can't answer that question. Not can you get into details. I can't get into that. The letter stands for itself. I can't get into it. I can't get into that in internal deliberations. I am not going to get into that.
Wow. I mean, it was 180 times. Those just the highlights there. He did exactly what he said he was going to do. And for anybody that thought he would do differently, you were betting that Santa would come after you buried your parents.
What?
It's interesting because there's a piece of, I guess, the analysis of this whole situation which shows Mueller in a negative light because of what you just showed. He's saying, look, I'm deferring. I'm going to the report. Go back to the report. Go back to the report. It's exactly what he promised he would do. Yeah. He told you in advance. This is what he said he was going to do.
They're delusional. Yeah, the Democrats are delusional.
We've had these issues before with like PR stuff before, where like Glenn says something crazy, and you'll go through and you'll like take the time to really like let me explain what I'm doing, and you'll write an op-ed or something, and then people just like want to constantly continue to ask you about the same question. It's like, well, look at the op-ed. There it is. It's written right there. This is kind of his point, right? Like, I went through this thing. I've laid out all the facts in order. This is exactly what I believe. What are you doing here? And I think that this sort of like, how badly did this backfire? Let me give you this clip from ABC News. I think this is the most concise telling of the entire day right here.
The end result for Democrats is the end of the dream of impeachment overturning the 2016 election.
Period.
It's just not going to happen. The public is not there. It's over as a political issue, but not as a national security issue.
Right. So there you go. Right. Like, I think that's true. Right. The political thing is dead. Nancy Pelosi wins this battle against AOC. I think is the way this works out. The national security point I think is important, and that like this report did give us a lot when it comes to national security. But the whole thing struck me as like this big moment, right? Like the Democrats built up in their head they were going to have this big moment. Like, Christopher Darden in the OJ trial is like, you know what? We're going to have him try on those gloves. And everyone's going to be like, oh my God, here's the killer wearing the gloves. And it's going to be this big, powerful moment. And then you find out, oh crap, the gloves don't fit. And as Glenn mentioned on radio today, it's like, but in advance, the gloves were with a little mouth on there telling you that it was not going to work. I'm not going to fit.
Don't! Those big hands scare me. It won't work. Don't do it. And he did it anyway.
He hadn't been taking relief factor.
One more thing I want to go to is I think, looking at this with all the evidence now, I think we all looked at Mueller. He didn't say much during the investigation. He said, he had this press conference where he said, I laid it all out in the report and I'm not going to talk about it again. And my impression of that was like he was trying to basically be like, I don't want to get involved in the political game.
Everyone worked hard,
right? Yeah. We worked hard on this. I want to put it out there. You guys can read it, and I don't get involved in your little game.
He's the greatest guy ever. If he got his jacket wings come up, I mean, we love him. He's doing his job. He's out there. He's only spending $25 million.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's it. Just the $25 million.
And I still don't know what Fusion GPS is.
Well, you
give me another $25 million.
Right.
And I'll probably tell you.
And that's a great point. Like, he didn't know that. And it kind of led me to another view of this that I have now entered into my sort of possibilities here, which is that maybe he was just sort of a figurehead here.
Yeah.
Maybe this was, Mueller has credibility. He has credibility with both sides leading into this for sure. Worked with Republicans and Democrats. Great law enforcement resume. And maybe this is an investigation that goes on kind of with his rough approval of the edges of where it goes and tone, but in reality, he really wasn't all that invested. It reminded me, and Jeffy, of course, his son was, drafted played for the New England Patriots. It reminded me of Tom Brady football camp. And you send your kids, you spend all this money, and they go to Tom Brady football camp. Tom Brady's not there. Tom Brady kind of his name's on the poster.
He does show up for the final day of
the
pictures.
final day, he does pictures and he makes a 3-minute speech. And but in general, it's just a football camp.
Remember, we did a book that fell under my name, but I was very clear. I didn't write this book. It was what's his name that wrote the original argument.
Oh, yeah. The Federalist Papers.
Federalist Papers, and it was written, but I had to go on the press junket, and people would ask me, and I'd be like, well,
my purview.
What do you think? What are you thinking? Well, you know, what is he thinking?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the way it felt. He clearly didn't write it.
Yep.
And he hadn't read it, probably.
That's what
since,
killed him, right? I mean, really, that's one of the things that really made it we heard in one of the clips, the optics, but I mean, the optics was bad. It was really bad.
We were looking at him yesterday at 8:20 Central Time. We're watching it, and we're talking about it on the air, and I started with, whoa, pudding.
Right.
Where's the pudding? I want my cup of pills.
What's that?
Yeah, he looked ancient and out of touch to the point to where he looked like he was having several geriatric moments. I don't think that's true, but that's how bad it was.
Well, because didn't one of them ask him to read a portion of the report, and he said, "I'll be happy to let you read it." I mean, he wasn't going to read anything. He would,
He didn't want to be part of this. And look, he told them he didn't want to be part of it. It's really their fault. This is a giant showing of Democratic incompetence.
Nadler and Schiff both.
Yeah, they actually lost ground by having him show up, because it didn't feel like they were like, well, if we have him agree to our questions after we read the report, this is going to be positive. It was the exact opposite. I mean, they choked this thing.
So two things here. We're still not talking about Russia and national security.
And that's the one part he was actually good on. I think that's the part he cared about, honestly.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. In his opening statement, this is real and they're doing it right now. Is anybody paying attention? That we haven't done. And the last thing is, tell me that this would have been worse if Jar Jar Binks would have showed up.
He did testify for a short time. But
Mueller Report, Episode 1.
No kidding.
All right, well, so we're going to head to break, and then when we come back, we've got some more hot topics to talk about, so stick around.
Jeffy wants to kill people. That's what we really want to talk about.
I want to talk about that. I want to hear that. I want to hear that. Have you seen what Duarte said recently?
All right, welcome back. Before we dive into our next story with Jeffy, we want to thank our sponsor, American Financing. And Stu, I know that you have a lot of experience in this area.
Yes, I bought a house not too long ago, and I went to American Financing and approximately 35 other companies. I really shopped it around for the mortgage. And was able
including to a guy named Vito.
Yes, his name was Vito, but he was very nice.
Yes,
very nice.
Of course, I give you a great interest rate.
Yeah, he was helping me with this horse head I found in my bed. Which was very nice. But we went through all those companies and narrowed it down almost immediately to American Financing and one other company. And the reason why the other company was in the picture was because basically I wanted a irregular mortgage. You go to like a rack of shirts and they have the irregular size. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what it was.
No, I don't know.
No, you don't know. Okay, I'm sorry. It wasn't what they did.
Fat shaming again.
I know myself. I know. It wasn't what they did. They did. They are responsible and do responsible mortgages. I was like, can you give me the one I could have gotten to 2006 from some like random loan shark? They said no to that. They said that it doesn't seem like a great idea to us, but if you want to do that, like, you know what, we're not going to try to, we're not going to try to talk you out of it. They're like, look, if it's what's right for you, go find it. You go with it.
I like the fact that this is what they told me in 2007 when I said, no, I won't advertise for you because I believe the mortgage companies are going to all, sink into the ground. Yeah. And they said, no, we don't make those kind of loans. Yeah. And they say no to people.
Like a test, they don't.
Yeah, where they're like, that, because if I remember right, what they said to you is, that's not a really good idea. We wouldn't recommend that you do that.
Yeah, right. And look, I understand that. By the way, that loan that I took has already been sold to another company. I'm now paying some other company. Like it hasn't been fun. So they were probably right on this. But the whole point is, listen to them when you call them. American Financing, they do a great job. AmericanFinancing.net and 800-906-2440 is the number. Definitely would recommend them.
Awesome. All right. So Jeffy, we're gonna.
It's been 20 years since the federal government has executed prisoners, and Attorney General Barr told us that they're going to start doing it as of today.
Well, he's good.
thought
He's
he did.
effective.
He's very
Was he the first to go?
He's a little-
He's gone.
He did.
Wow,
We
sad
lost him
ending.
already.
We lost him.
Oh, no,
We
that's
lost him.
sad. So he said that we're going to start executing the prisoners, and the first one is going to be in December, I think. I mean, it's going to be a ways away, but they've been on death row. The first 5 people have been on death row for quite some time now and have exhausted all their appeals and everything, and they're really bad people when you look at the crimes that they are convicted of committing. But it's been on hold. They had Obama had the federal system look into the drugs that they were using to kill the prisoners, and if they were good or bad. And even the states have been struggling with that. States have been struggling with the companies that have make the drugs that kill the prisoners. The companies are saying, hey, we're not going to make it anymore. We're not going to tell you where it comes from. All kinds of stuff like that. Well, now we're down to just one drug, the phenobarbital, and PEN. There's no H, my friend.
It's phenobarbital.
Okay.
Yeah,
I never questioned Jeffy on drugs, so I would say.
No, but phenobarbital
I
is
don't
something
I've never taken that one, my
that stops seizures. My daughter took it as a child, as a young child, phenobarbital, and it makes you very sleepy.
Now, there's 62 people on the federal death row inmates right now, and of course, it's not going over. It won't go over well. I don't even know if it will actually happen now, because every Democratic presidential candidate or nominee has all come out against,
of course,
the death penalty forever. I mean, California, the governor, the people have voted in California. Again, this is the state, not feds, but in California, the voters said, yes, we want to continue the death penalty. And the governor said, no.
So Rafe and I drove this summer through Colorado, where the super max is.
Yeah.
The world's most secure building. The world's most secure building is. And we drove by it, and we started looking, it was on the map, and Rafe and I were like, whoa, world's most secure building. We started reading about it and who's in there. And you're like, oh my gosh, we wanted to go. We drove by it, and I'm like, I want a tour of this place. It's pretty amazing and full of really bad people.
Really bad. So, whether you're for executions or not, I mean, I kind of feel like I am. You read what these criminals have done, really bad things. Once you've exhausted your chances of appeals, it's over. I mean, Texas per capita, the great state of Texas, really has done the most executions per capita. I mean, I think we're number 2 percentage-wise, but number 1.
It's one of the things I do like about Texas is like, don't screw with us.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 of those people were killed just because they were like, I don't know about Texas if it's the greatest.
I mean, we have a roller coaster named after the hanging judge at Six Flags.
Oh, yeah? Really?
Yeah. The Judge Roy Bean roller coaster, whatever.
Is it really?
Like the hanging judge, yeah.
Wow.
So we love our, love our hanging judges here.
One person we know is very much in favor of the death penalty is Donald Trump, right? I mean,
of course.
He's famously called for the execution of the Central Park 5 when they kind of found out later that they didn't actually do the crime, which was kind of a problem.
So he's also a good, or he's also seemed to have a strange love affair with, what's his name from the Philippines?
Duterte?
Duterte.
Yes.
Did you see what Duterte said in his latest? It's like kind of like their State of the Union.
He's a bad guy, man. He's been killing people since before he took office.
Jeffy is calling him a bad guy. That is like,
he's killing drug dealers.
Okay.
That's a problem.
No, and he has said, hey, you have a right to kill drug dealers in your own neighborhood.
Yeah.
If you see a guy who's dealing drugs, just kill him, and we're not going to do anything about it. I mean, he's a dangerous guy. He is that they outlawed all that. The Congress or Senate, whatever they have over there, they said, no, let's not do that anymore, and no death penalty because he seems to like it a lot. No death penalty. They banned it. He just won with a huge margin. He's wildly popular. He was given his State of the Union, and he said, you know what, we're going to bring back the death penalty too. And I think we should bring it back for corrupt officials, because there's an awful lot of corrupt officials that are hanging out right here. And in fact, and I love this quote, he said, in fact, there's so much corruption here that I wish there was a major earthquake that would just have this building fall on all of you and kill you all. Wow. I'm just kidding. I don't think you were. I mean, this guy is a dangerous
Cocktails in about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Hey, but let's talk about working our differences out on that bill, huh?
Yeah, he's been a bad guy he's told people all along, and he's already killed police officers and other judges. Like, oh, you had something to do with drug dealers?
Boom.
Yeah, he's that guy, and there's part of you that
you want to kind of like it.
You kind of because I think the death penalty, and so I've had a weird relationship with it. I feel like over the years, had it attempted on me twice, and I survived the chair. But back in your book, I think it's an Inconvenient book. I make the case in there for the death penalty for child molesters, not even murderers. And there was I think one of the worst, Supreme Court decisions that came down was Louisiana had death penalty for child molesters, and they said it was unconstitutional. Right. I don't think that was a good decision. I think as a policy, I actually think I think it can be, in theory, a good policy, in that deterrence is important. And we don't do it in a way that I think it's effective because it takes so long. There's 9 million of these, long-term,
And anyone who's against it is always, spouting that, what if one was wrong?
Right. Well, and they also spout it costs more. Well, it costs more because of the way you're doing it. Right. Because you let it
take them out back and shoot them in the head.
Exactly. We all know it's not expensive to kill people. I think though the issue, as I have grown older and have created less and less faith in what the government can do with any level of competence, it's harder and harder to be on board with it because they don't do anything right. So, are they deciding these things right? Yes, we think, we have a very long road for these people to get there. And the law is the law, and I'm very much a law and order guy.
I would rather have people stop with the appeals and back and forth. I'm against it because of the mistakes that can be made. And
you've gone back and forth on that, too.
I've gone back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I think I'm against the loss of innocent life, but these guys are horrible human beings. It's not a deterrent the way we do it. It's way too expensive the way we do it. I'd rather just keep them in a super max and then open it up so people can come and... No, I'm
tour with their kids.
Yeah, exactly. Summer vacation.
Oh no, that would have been
Dad of the year. We're criticizing Tom Brady for jumping off a cliff. This guy wants to bring his kid to a Supermax.
Yeah, scared straight.
Hillary, did you see the?
Bringing in El Chapo today.
Did you see that Jeffrey Dahmer, or not Jeffrey Dahmer? Who's the? There's all these documentaries that were going on Netflix of that mass murderer Ted Bundy. Did you see any of the Ted Bundy? You did see it. And at one point, they're showing, and they're like, well. An argument for the death penalty is Ted Bundy, right? The guy escapes twice from prison, and it's like, well, maybe just don't store him in a library by himself, right? I don't know, there should be a way. But we see this, we've seen this, and we have seen it many times, where people who are murderers figure out a way to get out. We've seen it with terrorists, where they leak information. There are negatives. It's just my government skepticism on their ability to do anything competently.
I will just tell you, what I'm concerned about is what I talked about in 2008. The world will go into chaos, and people will do anything to make it stop. And I think that's where the Philippines are, and possibly we're headed that way too.
We're talking about United Kingdom, Puerto Rico now. It's amazing what's going on.
Having to go to extremes. All right, we're going to go to break, and we'll be right back.
I can't get enough of this.
All right, before we wrap things up and head into overtime, I want to let Glenn tell us a little bit about the special from last night where you can catch it.
If you missed it last night, did you see it, Jeffy?
I did.
Yeah, I had so many people call me. I actually had a attorney general call me and say, it's the first time I've truly understood what was going on. Complicated case. Yeah. You have to watch it. Sign up. We're going to leave this open for the day. If you're not a member of the Blaze, please become a member of the Blaze. Go to blazetv.com/Glenn and use Glenn20 as your promo code, and you'll save $20 off your year's subscription.
Earworm is free. Ilan Omar.
All right, join us over on the website for overtime. It's coming up next.